Staying in Contact. I'm London Mitchell. In the installment for this week, we address an incredibly meaningful way to honor our veterans through Honor Flight. Flag City Honor Flight will have 3 flights this year. I reached out to Flag City Honor Flight President Will Miller for some background on Honor Flight, an activity I am very proud to support.
Well, Honor Flight started a little over 20 years ago now in 2005. It started right here in the state of Ohio. It started down in the Dayton area with a gentleman by the name of Earl Morse, and he was a physician's assistant at the Veterans Hospital down there. And they had just recently finished the completion of the World War II memorial, and he was talking to all of his World War II patients and asking them about hey, are you going to go see your memorial? And what do you think about this? And as he talked to these veterans, the same thing kept coming over and over again, and there was an excuse why they couldn't go. I was too old, I couldn't afford it, I'm too sick, and the excuse after the excuse came into why they couldn't go see this memorial. Well, Earl thought this was a horrible thing. He's a veteran himself, and he thought this was just an absolute horrible thing because it took him so many years to complete this memorial that these veterans are never going to get to see it. So Earl said, I'm going to do something about this. So he was a pilot, and he got 6 of his other friends, and they got their private airplanes, and they took 12 veterans on the very first honor flight back in 2005, and they flew them over there, and they showed them the memorial and had a great day, and they came back, and there was a big buzz. Oh my goodness, this was great, and they had all these veterans. Well, I want to go see it. I want to go see it. Well, obviously they're flying private airplanes, so it wasn't the easiest thing to do. So they gathered the flying club down at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and at the end of the first year, they flew 112 veterans, and they thought this was a great thing. Well, Earl said that's not enough. We need to do more. So Earl started to take a look at commercial flights and got commercial flights involved and start taking 10 or 20 at a time and things like that. At the same time period down in North Carolina, there was another gentleman named Jeff Miller, and he had heard what Earl was doing, but he said, hey, you know what? I want to take my entire town in one day. I want to take my entire town and all the veterans in one day. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, I'm gonna rent an airplane. I'm gonna charter an airplane. So he did. He raised the money. He chartered an airplane, and he took every veteran in his town to Washington D.C. to see the memorials. So he's running a program out of North Carolina. They were called Honor Air. They were kind of doing the charter route. Earl was in Ohio. It was called Honor Flight, and they were doing the commercial route. After a couple of years, they got to talking to each other, and they said, you know what? We need to just be one group. We need to be one organization. So they combined organizations. It's called the Honor Flight Network now. There's 135 chapters nationwide. And after 20 years, after our 20th year, we've flown over 350,000 veterans to Washington,
Wow.
D.C., free of charge to see their memorials. Now, as far as the Flag City side of it, we got started in 2011 with our first flight, and we've been taking flights ever since. We've flown about 2,500 ourselves out of Flag City in Northwest Ohio. So
It is Flag City
mhm.
Honor Flight, but you're extending the invitation to veterans throughout Northwest Ohio.
Yeah, back in 2014, and up until 2014, there was 2 groups. There was Honor Flight Northwest Ohio. They were out of the Toledo area, and then we were Flag City Honor Flight out of Findlay. When we had started, we were just kind of servicing the Findlay and surrounding counties. They had folded the operations in Toledo at Honor Flight Northwest Ohio, so we assumed the entire area. So now we take care of all of Northwest Ohio as far as the veterans, and we do pull some veterans from the southern 3 counties in Michigan too. We don't actively go up there and recruit veterans, but we do get quite a few because it's a little bit closer for them to come to us on a flight than it is to go to some of the other ones.
Now, Honor Flight started to honor and recognize veterans from World War II. Not many left anymore.
Yeah, you're right. There isn't too many of the World War II guys left. I mean, we might get 1 or 2 a year now, where it used to be a lot more, but we still have some Korean veterans. I know on our very first flight for this year, I believe we have 6 Korean veterans. And then the remainder of all of our veterans are coming from Vietnam. So everybody that served up to 1975 right now is eligible. So we do get the bulk majority of all the veterans that fly on our flight right now are Vietnam veterans.
And the enthusiasm for people getting on the plane and visiting the memorials in Washington, D.C., how would you describe it?
Well, it's you start the day with a little bit of apprehension, a little bit of they don't really know what's going to happen. They really don't know because some of it in by design is not necessarily always conveyed 100% to them. We kind of want to have some surprises in there and some things like that. So there's a little apprehension, a little bit of a reserve. And then as the day progresses on, as they see the different places that we go, the stops that we go, the memorials that we see, the Arlington National Cemetery, and then by the end of the day, when we get home to our welcome home, the change in that veteran goes from a little bit of apprehension to they've had an absolutely amazing day, and it's something that they're never going to forget. And it's a lot of times there's a lot of life changing things that happen for these veterans on doing these flights.
Very often, a veteran doesn't really want to remember what happened during the war years or during the time he or she was serving. But I would imagine that that kind of eases when the recognition is there.
Yeah, you are correct in that, and we do get that veteran that comes aboard and he's very reserved about talking about his experience or anything like that. Or sometimes they're just straightforward and let us know that, hey, I don't really want to talk about this or whatever it may be. And obviously we always respect those wishes and those sorts of things. But a lot of times at the end of the day, by the time we're done, a lot of times they now talk about it, and they get a chance to be around their other veterans, the other comrades that they served with, and other people that experienced the same things that they did. And a lot of times, by the end of the day, you get a lot of these men and women who now feel, they don't feel better necessarily always about what they did, but they feel like it was okay, and what they did was okay, and that they were now thanked for their service, and people really did appreciate what they did. And each generation of veteran you go, it's a little bit different, but with the Vietnam guys in particular, it's very poignant because of how terribly they were treated. um
They did not
upon
have
their
a they did not have a very nice welcome home, many of them.
Yeah, and that's very true. When they couldn't even wear their uniforms out in public, and they didn't want to tell anybody that they served. That was my father's generation, and he used to tell me stories about friends of his or family members who they didn't even tell somebody they served in the military because they may not get a job. And yeah, you're right. They didn't have a very good welcome home. So part of this experience that these veterans get is that welcome home at the end, that welcome home that sometimes is 40, 50, 60, 70 years late, but they're still getting now that welcome home. They're going to get that welcome home and treated like they should have been treated so many years ago, but it just wasn't the time for it. But now we're going to make it that time.
So tell me, Will, how do veterans get in touch with you to get a seat aboard the honor flight? And tell us about the people that travel with them.
Sure, sure. Well, if a veteran's interested in going on an honor flight, they can go right over to our website. That's flagcityhonorflight.org. There's a button on there that they can push that it's for an application. They can fill out a veteran application on there, and then they can get put on our waiting list to go on a flight. And as far as a person that goes with them, we call them guardians. And a guardian that would go on the flight, they can do the same thing. They can go out there and they can fill out an application if somebody's interested in being a guardian. And to be a guardian, we're asking you to go with that veteran, and you're going to be their hands, their feet, sometimes their eyes and their ears. Just all depends. You're going to be with that veteran all day, and you're going to do everything you can do to help them and make their day as absolutely special as it can be for that veteran. And so in return, being a guardian, I will tell you that it's probably one of the most rewarding experiences you can ever do if you get a chance to be a guardian on an honor flight.
No, there's no cost for the veteran. Am I right on that?
That's correct. There is no cost for the veteran and guardian. We do ask for a $400 donation for a guardian to help offset the cost of our flights. The flights are quite expensive. They cost about $130,000 per flight. So the guardian donation helps us offset the cost of that for the flights.
And to be a guardian, as you said, is a really rewarding experience.
Yeah, it definitely is. There's a lot of times, a lot of our guardians are family members, so they may know their veteran, and that experience is a little bit different. But coming from the aspect of if you're what we call a community guardian, you're going to get assigned a veteran who you don't know. You don't know this person, but you get a chance to meet this person, get a chance to talk with them, and not only do you get to share the day and share experiences and get to bring the pleasure of taking them on an honor flight to that veteran, but in many cases, and we've seen this over the years with so many veterans and guardians, they become lifelong friends. They almost in some cases become a part of each other's families, where they're going to go to Christmas and birthdays and graduations and all this stuff with each other's families, because they've had that bond. And even though it's one day, that bond is so strong that they became friends.
And that day ends when the plane comes back, the veterans and the guardians disembark, and then what happens?
When we get back to that hangar at Grand Air, we offload off that airplane. That hangar door is closed, and they open up that hangar door to thousands of people cheering and screaming, and a band playing, and signs being held, and family members waiting for that veteran to get that welcome home that they didn't get when they came home to that empty train station or bus station or whatever it might be. They get this proper welcome home, and they get to walk through this. We call it a walk of honor, basically a big long receiving line where people's cheering for them and waving flags and holding up signs. And I've done a lot of honor flights. I've actually flown over 30 honor flights, and every single welcome home is emotional. You know what's going to happen. You know how it's going to work. You know all the details of every single thing that's going to be. But as soon as you look one of these veterans in the eye, you see the emotion that's in their face, and they look at you and said, "Thank you." They thank us for such a great day, but we're just trying to thank them for what they did.
Wonderful. You've got 3 honor flights planned for this season. How again can somebody find out more information on either being a veteran on an honor flight or being a guardian?
You can go out to our website, flagcityhonorflight.org, and you can fill out an application to be either a guardian or as a veteran on the flight. And then for more information about flights, upcoming flights, and all the other stuff we do, other events, just follow us on our Facebook page. That's where you're going to see all of our information. And that's just at Flag City Honor Flight on Facebook.
Will Miller is the president of Glass City Honor Flight. Will, good work being done. And please stay in touch. Let us know how things go after the first flight of the season.
Will do, and we appreciate you and everything you do to promote Honor Flight and get the word out. And we just encourage anybody that wants to know more about it, come out to a welcome home and get to experience a little bit of the Honor Flight spirit. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
And the website address again is flagcityhonorflight.org. I'm London Mitchell, inviting you to join us again next week, when we will again be staying in contact.
Previous installments of Staying in Contact with London Mitchell are available on the Stream 419 app, Spotify, and londonmitchell.news.